Hello, everyone. We are back again with another exciting WCW episode of Stranger Rings. I am Corey,
I'm Tom.
and today we got a treat for you. We had Dennis Rodman, which we had a lot of fun with the last episode that we did. You know, an actual storyline, not a worst of wrestling, and this one is this one's interesting too.
Yeah, this was something that has been covered by other people in the past, but it was just too good to pass up.
It's one of them hidden gems. It's not really hidden; it's a gem, though. It's there.
Yeah, this was certainly something to watch.
David, I mean, we're talking about David Arquette here and his adventures in WCW in the spring of 2000. There's a lot going on, as we covered in the reboot episode, just in general of WCW 2000. But man, you add David Arquette on top of it.
Yeah, this was like 2 weeks after the reboot he started as well. Like they did the reboot Nitro, they did Spring Stampede. They had one episode of Nitro and Thunder before that. And then they had David Arquette make his debut on Nitro, and nothing was ever the same.
I've never watched a Nitro before this. Or not Nitro, Thunder. Thunder was like just one of those shows I've just never seen really anything from. And this is probably why.
Yeah, Thunder was definitely the show that it was almost impossible to track down after WCW ended because WWE had it, but they didn't really do anything with it, and they only occasionally would put it on the network, like for a long time, like for years, until they finally released all the episodes. So I was glad that we were actually able to get everything.
Yeah, it was good to see. Now that was on Thursdays too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we had right, they were on top of it. They beat WWE to the second show, second primetime show. It didn't work out that well, I guess. It started off hot and then it went downhill, but the title change does happen on it doesn't happen on Thunder, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does. Oh my God.
Well, it depends
That's
which title change you're talking about because there were like four.
Yeah, it's something. So pretty much let's dive in here on David Arquette and the man, the myth, the legend himself. So David Arquette here, let me bring up his Wikipedia. Most people will know him as the husband of Courteney Cox, who was one of the biggest actresses in the world between the mid 90s to mid 2000s. She was Monica on Friends. So everybody and their mother was watching that at the time.
Yes, everybody knew who she was, and for the people that didn't know David Arquette, they haven't seen the Scream series, which is just an excellent series of movies.
I didn't know if you were a Scream fan or not. So this is the thing. I've watched Scream 3 or 4, but I've never watched the original two.
Oh, it's so good. The first one is so good. The second one not quite as good, but I think I've probably seen the other ones, but I'm trying to think back because I think was Scream 4 like way later than the rest of them.
I think so. I think it was more of like a reboot where not a
Yeah.
lot of the originals were on there. But the Scream series like is known as one of the movies that kind of brought back that horror slasher genre that was so big in the 80s.
Right.
So that was fun. It's made by Wes Craven, the renowned horror director.
Legend.
And Courteney Cox and David Arquette are both in that movie, and then they get married soon after, in I think like 97 or 98. And they are a power couple in Hollywood, a very random power couple.
Yeah, especially like normally you see the like stereotypically, like I think a lot of people would view like the guy as the breadwinner, so it was kind of funny for them to poke to the fact that the woman was the breadwinner in this relationship because Mean Gene Okerlund referenced that Courteney Cox was making $1 million an episode for Friends, so like what was David Arquette doing?
Yeah, that's true.
Making Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, I mean he was in Scream though. He had some good.
He was.
He was like the funny kind of sheriff character in Scream, so that was fun.
Yeah.
They are just out of Scream. They have grossed $608 million at the box office, the second highest grossing slasher film in the world.
Holy shit.
Behind Halloween that was made 2 years ago is the original Scream.
Wow.
Which is wild. I thought it would be like a Friday the 13th or something, but good for them. And then I have to talk about it here because I have watched the Scream TV series that was on MTV that I don't think anybody else has watched, and I think it's one of the best things I've ever fucking watched. So I just have to throw a shout out there since I think it's probably canceled now.
Yes, I haven't heard about it for a while, but I did know that it was on MTV, and I think it had like more than one season.
So it had 3. The first 2 were the original cast, and they had like, I mean, nobody that you would really know. The girl that was in Key and Peele that played, oh shit, she was in The Substitute Teacher, Jake Quellen. She was one of the kids in it, which was awesome. I was very happy about it. But yeah, so after that, there's nobody anybody really knows. But it was fun. And then in the third one, they rebooted it, and it went on VH1, and I don't think it did that well. So it's probably dead. R.I.P. Scream the TV series. But Scream 5, I guess David Arquette just signed on for that they want to do one in the next couple years.
Love it. Keep bringing David Arquette back. He seems like a very nice guy, and I'm glad that he keeps doing things. He comes from a famous the Arquette acting family, which is very well known, and he also was in different movies like Eight-Legged Freaks. He was in for a while. I think he appeared on Buffy the Vampire Slayer too. So he was in those sort of movies. But one thing that I also figured out during researching this, that he was in ESPN NFL 2K5. He appeared in it.
Oh, yes, he was. I remember that kind of now. That's awesome. I forgot about that.
He voiced himself as a celebrity adversary and manager of his own team, the Los Angeles Locos, and was an unlockable character in season mode.
Yeah, there was some random people on there. I want to say Johnny Knoxville was randomly on, maybe. I don't know. Or Jamie Kennedy, somebody like that.
That
was randomly
right.
on it too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else he was really in besides for like Scream as being his big movies. He was in The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D.
Oh, hell yeah.
So he did have something else I've heard of. Once Upon a Time in Venice was recent. But yeah, he was also in a television series for The Outsiders.
Really?
So I don't know. He's done a lot of stuff.
And I think one of the biggest things that he did was he was in a commercial. I think it was for 1-800-CALL-COLLECT, I want to say. Because they referenced that a bit. I think that's what it was called. I'm going to confirm now. But he was like, that's what he was famous for. 1-800-CALL-AT&T.
Okay, yeah, and then he also recently was the executive producer of Celebrity Name Game with Craig Ferguson, which I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
So that's good.
Well, I'm glad that he keeps busy.
Yeah, he does some stuff. I can't believe he was in 2K5. That's fucking great. One of the best football games ever made. It's got to be top 3 for me.
Couldn't you have a career-ending injury in that game?
I think they still had you be able to get carted off, like, to an ambulance, I want to say.
Wild.
So, yeah, David Arquette, probably most known for being in Scream and married to Courteney Cox. There's a lot of references to that here on these WCW episodes. Tom, are you a fan of Friends?
I am not.
Oh, I watched Friends. I thought it was pretty good. He does guest star after he marries Courteney Cox. So
does he?
Fun. Yeah, and they all switched their name after she got married in the credits to, like, instead of David Schwimmer, it would be David Schwimmer Arquette or whatever, just because she started hyphenating her name.
Love that. My favorite David Schwimmer thing was when he was in The People vs. O.J. Simpson, and he just played Robert Kardashian, and all he had to do was look concerned, which is his natural facial expression. So yeah. he killed it. He killed it.
Yeah, so, a lot of intertwining here of 90s and early 2000s pop culture with David Arquette joining, and something like this is actually usually good. As we touched on the Dennis Rodman episode, you get a lot more eyes to the product, but you can do it in the wrong way, which is kind of
Yes.
how we see it happen here.
Yeah,
So,
and this could have been very, very fun. It really, I mean, it was still fun to recover, but I think it could have been a benefit to WCW if they would have used Arquette in a similar fashion. But for what they do with him is unquestionably bad.
yeah, there's it started off okay, they have him in Ready to Rumble, which is a big budget. Like I think it had like a ridiculous like 20 or 25 million dollar budget for like a wrestling movie,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild. And it had some, we've talked about it before with some decent stars. You had Scott Conn, son of James Conn. You had David Arquette in there, and then all the wrestlers appeared, and they decided to parlay that into David Arquette appearing on TV, which in itself is not that bad of an idea.
No, and I think that the way this started was actually pretty good. Like the first episode, well, technically he appeared on the April 12th Thunder. I don't know if you covered that.
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay.
So April 12th Thunder, they open the show and he's just kind of in the crowd, like how they show random celebrities in the crowd all the time. Anytime you see a sports figure, WWE fans, they're like, look, it's a Chicago Bear that no one knows who he is. Like
Always.
back in like 2006, they'd be like, look, Tommy Harris is here, like not Brian Urlacher. Look, Rex Grossman, everyone, no one cares. But instead, you got David Arquette in the front row, who just looks like he's having a good time as a fan. And previous, I think we covered on the reboot episode, didn't he hit Jeff Jarrett with a guitar at like some premiere as like a promotional spot?
Yes, he did. He laid him out, which I think was something that was a lot of fun that set up this storyline. Because if you're gonna have him take out a wrestler, what better to do it with a weapon?
Yeah, and Jarrett talks about that here on this Thunder briefly when he's being interviewed. Jarrett has some savage lines to Mean Gene throughout this.
Poor Mean Gene. I
Like,
actually I didn't get a chance to see this Thunder. I got mixed up, but I do have the description written out for me.
I don't think this was one of the ones where he said something really savage, but at one point he said that he was going to slap the liver spots off of Mean Gene.
That's
Just
amazing.
uh, what a heel, what a heel. But Jarrett does cover here that Arquette is in the house, he says, and he's like, Mr. Cox is here, because I mean, to be fair, she makes a lot more money than him, so I guess the dig is kind of warranted. But um, so they keep calling him Mr. Cox here, and then he doesn't even appear until a DDP versus Bam Bam Bigelow match.
Oh wow, the heavy hitters match right there.
Yeah, so I didn't really completely watch the match, but I got to the involvement with David Arquette here. So the ref goes down, of course, because Vince Russo's booking, and DDP hits the diamond cutter on Bam Bam Bigelow. So that what happens with that is Bischoff and Jarrett run out. Jarrett then hits DDP with a guitar, and Arquette is so enraged by this, he jumps the guardrail and jumps on Bischoff's back.
Love it. He
So
hates Eric Bischoff, man.
So that's fine. So then Jarrett throws Arquette over the fucking ropes. Like he does the flip over the top rope, which was incredible.
Oh wow.
And then Jarrett throws him into the barricade and brings him back in and hits a nasty stroke on him. Like David Arquette took the stroke better than I think I've ever seen anyone take it.
Arquette could. I was surprised he could, and it showed because like with his later wrestling career, the man could really take a bump.
Yeah, dude, he was taking it right onto his face. Like he didn't even care. He took the stroke right onto the top of his head.
I love it. That's how you take that move because it's kind of a hard move to hit clean. It was really not a great move to have as a finisher, but shout out to David Arquette for doing something that a lot of wrestlers wouldn't do.
Yeah, I like the stroke as a move, kind of like it's kind of unique. Nobody else is going to use it, and when he does it off the top rope in TNA, it was really good, but it
Uh-huh.
was it's very weird.
Yeah, I wonder what made him think, okay, well, this is my finisher. I got to use this.
I don't know. I really don't know where he came from with that move. But in this match, Canyon also runs down and tries to make the save here, but takes an awful sliding, like off the forehead chair shot from Bischoff. Worse than the Hogan one that we
Oh
covered.
God.
Like, I don't even know if Bischoff hit him. Like, he might have just grazed like Canyon's hair.
You think that like they would just start letting Bischoff like hit people in the back and then just say that he hit somebody in the back of the head with it?
Yeah, I don't know what exactly was going on here, but that's the involvement of the April 12th, 2000 Thunder.
Huh.
So then we get to Nitro where things start to pick up here with Mr. Arquette. You got DDP and Jeff Jarrett. They're going to fight at Spring Stampede, or they just did Slamboree.
Yeah.
So they're going to fight at Slamboree in the 3-decker cage. Like, it's just thrown out there. Like, there's no fucking reason that it is happening. There's no issue that makes them have 3 cages. It's just in the movie that David Arquette was in, so we're going to do it.
Yep. It's Ready to Rumble steel cage. I think they even call it like multiple things. Like it's the triple steel cage, the triple decker steel cage, the 3-decker steel cage, the Ready to Rumble steel cage. Like they can't make up their mind as to what this match is called.
And that's fitting because they don't tell you what the hell is happening in the match. I guess you had to see the movie.
Yep, you had to see the movie or pay for the pay-per-view to find out. So shout out to WCW for trying to lure people in.
So now here, do you have some detail on April 24th? Because
yes,
there's a lot going on here.
Yes, there's a lot happening on this Nitro. We start out with Jeff Jarrett, Eric Bischoff, and Kimberly coming out. Kimberly is Diamond Dallas Page's wife, who had recently turned on DDP at Spring Stampede and cost him the World Heavyweight title.
And this is his shoot wife, too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
it's his real-life wife. They didn't get an actress.
No, she comes out. First off, Jeff Jarrett comes out, and I'll tell you, I like Jeff Jarrett as a worker. I think he's a really good babyface promo. I think he sucks as a heel. Like, I don't think, which it seems like that's what he likes to play more, but he's just so generic on the microphone. Like, I like the whole guitar thing, that's a heel thing to do, but it's just on the microphone, I don't think he could back it up. Like, I think he would need Eric Bischoff to talk for him.
So I don't know if I like, so the guitar thing, I love the actual explosion of a guitar. It's a great prop.
Yeah.
They just do it so much.
Right.
That it's so hard to like, if you did that like 5 times a year and made it mean something, I think people would be like, oh shit. But like you're seeing random people get hit with this guitar like twice a week sometimes. So it's just hard to build up. But yeah, he does like to play a heel, like even in TNA. But when I started watching TNA was like the first time him and Angle had went at it. Was that like 07 or 08? I want to say.
Yeah, that was 08 as a babyface, and I loved him. And
yeah,
like as a Southern babyface style wrestler, and he had some excellent matches against Kurt Angle. And I mean, he is a really good worker in general. Like inside the ring, he can work as a heel, but I just don't think he can back it up on the mic.
I don't know. I think Jeff Jarrett's like kind of underrated. Like he doesn't really do anything bad in ring wise, but I mean, it's just I don't know. I like him as a babyface, like TNA babyface. Jeff Jarrett was a lot of fun. I thought he played that well, but yeah, like he was trying to do the Triple H heel in TNA just because, he wasn't going to leave the company. So I understand it, but
but
I don't know.
Yeah, so he's here and he names his movie. Like he said, "Oh, you had a movie, Arquette?" Because David Arquette's at ringside for this again. He said, "I'm gonna have a movie at Slamboree. It's called Kicking DDP's Ass Up and Down the Steel Cage." And it's like, okay, you sound dumb, but Jeff Jarrett is. Yeah, he said he's gonna beat DDP's ass and quote neglect it just like you did your wife.
Yeah, that was pretty savage.
It was, but like, I just was so confused as to why he was saying he was going to neglect DDP, but
I don't know. The whole Kimberly thing was really weird. Like, I think if you would did that storyline without intertwining it with this storyline, maybe you could have something.
Right.
But this just makes it so hard to follow.
Yeah, there was just so much going on here, as a lot of Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff produced WCW shows had. Um, Eric Bischoff, I noted, has a lavalier mic, like he has the one that's taped to him, and I thought that was really interesting, like to start the promo because you could hear him pretty well.
Yeah, I think he talked about that on 83 Weeks before, where he kind of wanted people that weren't going to be involved in like physical angles to not have to carry around a microphone and pass it back and forth, which I get.
Right.
I think he should have went with the Britney Spears mic that goes off your ear, just because it would have been funny.
Yes.
But but
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I like the idea, but it's just sometimes it started to cut out. You could hear him good, and then like it would randomly cut.
Right. Yeah, and I think WCW had, and I noted a few times, they have so many issues when it comes to sound editing that it really makes you take the WWE for granted, like where they never ever have sound issues.
No matter what you want to say, any criticisms of WWE, their production values and everything are top notch.
They are, and it's almost like you're spoiled watching it because you know that they're never gonna, like, other than the shaky cam and all this and cutting to fans, like they're top notch.
Besides for AJ Styles coming out to Roman Reigns' confused face, that was the worst one I've ever seen.
That was terrible, and luckily that and I think when Edge was coming out, they cut to Baron Corbin's face, or when for his return, or they cut the fans.
Yeah, they love to cut the fans, but it's fine. I guess we just have to take it.
Yeah, we'll just deal with it. But anyway, DDP comes out, and he has Albert Einstein on his T-shirt.
I noted that too. That was that DDP just, if there was a second tier of the Mount Rushmore, he might have to get on it just for that shirt.
He also had, I was watching after finishing this, I decided to go back and watch the April 17th Nitro to put me to sleep. And DDP came out with a Sopranos t-shirt, which was awesome.
Oh, I did see that too. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so he came out with that. He calls Jeff Jarrett and Eazy-E Jagoffs, and Kimberly ends up cutting him off and says that she's finally in the driver's seat. And I like the idea of the storyline with Eric Bischoff manipulating Kimberly into thinking that that is all about her, when in actuality they're just kind of using her as a trophy, like as a device to get the page, which is something that I really like. But I'm not sure if that is a good thing for this storyline to focus on just DDP and Jarrett.
Yeah, I think it's just so much going on there, because that's like a very real kind of feud that could happen, and it would have been better if they just kind of did it after this instead of trying to randomly mix it in as David Arquette's part of this, as Canyon's part of this. The other New Blood and Eric Bischoff are randomly showing up. Like there's just so many moving parts.
Right. And I feel like DDP, instead of feuding with Jarrett, is feuding with Kimberly and Bischoff.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like there's definitely an issue between Jarrett and him, but it's not really his primary focus. It doesn't seem like so. And they're fighting for the world title, so we should kind of make that the forefront.
Yeah, exactly. We end up getting to Eric Bischoff, or Kimberly calls the wrestling fans marks and demands a divorce. Like within a sentence from each other, like all these wrestling fans, these marks, like, they all hate me, but you know what, Paige, I want a divorce. Like it was that quick.
He was like, what? God, what a fucking time.
Yes, DDP also had some really terrible acting as a response. Like, instead of saying, good, I don't want a divorce, he's like, what, are you kidding me? But, like, he doesn't have any emotion in his voice. It's just DDP talking.
Everything that's going on here is just ridiculous.
Yeah, we get DDP calling Kim a super bitch to a huge pop. And then DDP threatens to shove the divorce papers down Eric Bischoff's throat.
Yeah, anytime you say bitch in wrestling, it just gets that crowd. They are happy about it.
Yes, WWE even knows, like, they might be PG, but damn it, they're allowed to use that word to its full effect.
Yeah, it's oh god, just everything going on here. We got him calling his real life wife a super bitch on national TV, and then is that what prompts Jarrett to attack?
Yes, because he threatened to shove the divorce papers down Bischoff's throat, and he grabbed Bischoff.
So then Jeff Jarrett, here comes the fucking guitar. We got the guitar to DDP, and then that makes Arquette jump back in just like he did on Thunder. And he is going for Bischoff, who is just standing there hoping that papers aren't shoved down his throat.
Yeah, Arquette's punches, Jesus Christ, they look terrible. Like, I get that he doesn't want to hurt the guy, but maybe you could at least make it look good.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. So then we have the bad punches by Arquette, only for Jarrett to grab him. But then here comes Canyon to save Arquette, and this all leads to the New Blood guys heading towards the ramp, and Bischoff is fucking livid as he gets to the ramp.
Yeah, he cuts a great angry promo on Arquette. Like, he was like screaming half the time, but you really could buy the fact, like, Bischoff is such a good performer. Like, he really is.
Yeah, and if he was even more engaged here, because I know like he was not happy with the Vince Russo stuff from everything he said, like
Right.
it probably would have been even better. But he's still good enough that it comes off well. Like, I mean, they really do throw in some shade on the Courteney Cox thing because, I mean, he says he challenges Mr. Courteney Cox to a match tonight. Bish and Arquette are going to go at it, and then Arquette says he is going to 1-800 kick his butt.
Love it. Love it. That great way to throw his commercials in, which is probably what a lot of people know him for at that point, other than Scream. So that's pretty cool. Except Arquette has the issue is he's a babyface for most of this, right? Yeah. He has one of the most annoying voices that I've ever heard.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like he can't help, which I feel bad. Like he just seems like he's like a little like weasel kind of heel.
Right.
Would fit him. But I like David Arquette, so especially since he's come back to wrestling, which we'll touch on a little bit later.
Oh,
but yeah, he does sound just not, I don't know. You just don't think that voice is going to come out of him.
Right. So we get the one thing that Arquette impressed me with was he jumped over the ropes and he didn't completely clear them, like he kind of bumped on them, but the fact that he jumped over the ropes and landed on his feet really impressed me.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know like what his background is, but he seemed like he was athletic enough to get by.
Yeah.
So I mean that's good.
Yeah, it's just his size was the tough thing. Well, he's like 5'10", 160. And that's just being generous. Like, so yeah. It's tough. And that's something we'll get into later when we hear what he does on Thunder. But if they had a more imposing actor in this situation, maybe things would have been a little bit different. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, so we do have the match set then with Bischoff and Arquette. But Arquette adds that if he wins, DDP is going to get a World Heavyweight Championship match against Jeff Jarrett in a cage tonight, which is a fucking, I mean, that's crazy. I like the idea, but the fact that Jeff Jarrett does play his cowardly heel well, because he's like telling Bischoff like, no, don't have this match, and Bish is like, I can do it, and then he just accepts it while they're on the ramp.
Yeah, like I actually after this was excited to see this match, more excited than watching DDP and Jarrett. And DDP and Jarrett are both good workers, but just the way they build to this, Arquette and Bischoff are getting they're getting top billing.
Yeah, and so throughout the show, we're gonna build up to this. We have Canyon DDP hyping up Arquette. They're gassing him up. They're for this fucking contest. It's gonna last like 4 minutes, so I guess it works out. But Bischoff also throughout the show is downplaying Arquette to Jeff Jarrett because Jeff's very concerned that he could lose the title. And he's like, he's David Arquette. I'm a karate master. Come on.
Easy E, who, holy shit, another terrible, terrible worker in the ring is Eric Bischoff. Like, as good of a performer as he is, good God.
Well, I'm happy Arquette was here to carry him through this match this night. So we do get the Arquette Bischoff match. The announcers are hyping Bischoff's karate background as he comes out. And he's just like, the best was in WWE when he'd come out with the fucking karate like gi.
Yeah.
And here he just comes out in like fucking sweatpants and like a champion shirt, which is my favorite thing.
I wrote that it looked like a Tommy Hilfiger looking tank top.
Yeah, he came out with like the shirt he would wear to go boating on the weekend.
He also, did you see his Titantron in the background?
No.
It had him shaking hands with Russo, like then it cut to him smiling and then him waving to the crowd. Like there was never any like things of him doing any wrestling action.
I love it. They didn't want to throw in that Hulk Hogan chair shot to the head.
No, they said fuck that. We're not putting that on TV again.
No, they're not. But they put some shit here on TV with Arquette coming out to fight Eric Bischoff, and it's very short, which is good. Right. But we do get Bischoff throwing the sidekick to the chest in the beginning of the match. So we saw that karate expertise there.
Yeah, Eazy really was taking it to Arquette, who, by the way, Fashion Watch, which I will give credit. Arquette is not on the Fashion Watch Mount Rushmore, but he came pretty fucking close.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say by the end, yeah, he started getting real close.
Yeah, so he was wearing here a sparkly black long shirt and long sleeve T-shirt, I should say, and leather pants.
Yes, he did. Leather was big. Karl Malone wore those with DDP too.
Except he actually looked like he could kick somebody's ass. He looked like Test or The Undertaker when they would wear it, not like David Arquette. No,
David Arquette just looks like, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Go to a rave or something.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I can compare it to. So Arquette shows some fight here after Bischoff is kicking him around, and Arquette hits a spear on Bischoff, which is just like a vicious tackle. Like you could tell they just hit each other hard.
Yeah, I wrote Goldberg speared him because he just had no regard for his life, just threw himself at him, which was great.
Yeah, it was good. And then the surprise of all surprises, David Arquette breaks out the worm and then the jumping elbow drop after.
A huge pop too. Beautiful, beautiful.
The worm, no matter what, is always over.
It is. No matter who does it. Like, Scotty 2 Hotty made a career out of that.
Yes, he did. And Otis is now doing it.
Legend.
So that's a thing. But
Husky legend Otis.
Eventually, Jeff Jarrett and DDP are out here. And Jeff Jarrett ends up pushing DDP into the ref. And then hits DDP with the belt. So DDP is down. And then
that's when we get the low blow on Arquette?
Yes, it is.
So Bischoff low blows Arquette, and he's got the advantage. Jarrett has the guitar, and Bischoff restrains Arquette in order to hit him in the head with the guitar. And obviously, they're in a position where that move never works. Arquette manages to break Bischoff's grasp at the last second, and Bischoff takes a hellacious guitar shot straight to the forehead.
Bischoff just letting it go. He's just taking it. Also here, Mark Madden, I believe, says that the low blow wouldn't hurt David Arquette because Courteney already took his manhood.
I did hear that. That was stiff.
There was no fucking reason, but I guess he's the heel commentator. So
yeah, God, I did like with Mark Madden's commentary later when spoiler alert, after Arquette turns heel, he's like, he's the greatest actor of all time after talking shit on him for 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Yeah, but after that guitar shot to Bischoff, Canyon comes in to take out Jeff Jarrett, and Arquette pins Eric Bischoff here with giving DDP the world title match later in the night. Not too bad for a first match and overbooked angle.
Right. It was fun. Like, I think that this is what they could have done with Arquette is I will give WCW credit. They never ever made him look better than a pro wrestler. They made him look better than Eric Bischoff, but they never made him look like, okay, and even then he won by technically cheating. So he never really looked better. Like, he even beating Tank Abbott, he never looked better than Tank Abbott. He always got by the skin of his teeth. So I'll give them credit for that they at least didn't bring him in as a world beater.
It's kind of, he's kind of like playing his Scream character. How I don't believe Dewey has ever died in the movies.
No.
So didn't they have one point where like somebody threw a knife at his head and like the like end of the knife, like the handle part hit him instead of the actual knife?
Oh, that sounds familiar. It's been a while since I've seen the Scream movies. Like I was a fan, but it was like years ago when I first saw them.
I just remember that scene for some reason. Like I think I saw it on like YouTube or something where they like whip it at him from like he has like his gun. He's pointing down the steps at somebody, and they throw it at his head, and it hits him with the fucking handle, and he just like falls. So like it's pretty much he's playing Dewey. He's just surviving here.
Yeah, he manages to do it, and right here, this sets up the main event where DDP will wrestle Jarrett for the world title inside the steel cage, which the win gets a huge pop too from the crowd. Like, I was surprised.
Yeah, and there's not like too much crazy going on here. It's the weird part. DDP hit on top of the cage when Jarrett was coming out, and then hit him with the door because he didn't know where DDP was, which was kind of funny.
That's creative, but it makes Jarrett look blind, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. And then they fought in the crowd before the cage match, which was kind of a nice touch. It's not just your standard, let's get in there and throw each other off the steel.
Right.
But you do get the, couple shots off the steel. They throw each other in. Vince Russo also fashion watch here as he came to the ring with Jeff Jarrett. He has on a Knicks Latrell Sprewell jersey.
That's a good touch. We might have given him shit for his appearance on the reboot Nitro, but if you're gonna wear a jersey, at least wear a Latrell Sprewell jersey.
Well, when I saw it, I was like, "Damn, he got that Stephon Marbury," but no, it was fucking Latrell, which is great.
Love it. So we end up getting. I caught to the end of this match. We got DDP, like there was a shit ton of interference, like a lot of interference where DDP looked like he was going to have the win, and Mike Awesome, the legend himself, decides to rip the door off the cage, which like it took him maybe 2 or 3 minutes to do it. Like he kind of just stood out there and waited for his cue and then pulled at the door a little bit and it wouldn't open. And then all of a sudden, like the door fell in and he got in the cage. Then Canyon and he did that because DDP hit the diamond cutter on Jarrett. And Charles Robinson counted 1, 2, and Mike Awesome grabbed Robinson's hand so he couldn't do the pin. Canyon breaks up the Awesome's hold on Charles Robinson, like he clubs him in the back, and then instead of having to restart the 3 count, Robinson just counts, like he just hits the mat once, and that's the 3 count. And DDP's the new world champion.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but I guess I understand it because Jarrett never, I guess, kicked out. But that was weird. It was a weird touch, but it was okay. It was passable for me.
Right, I agree.
But Charles Robinson can't do anything wrong anyways, so.
It's true. He did. I don't know if you saw. I didn't watch the match yet, but he did referee the greatest wrestling match ever between Orton and Edge.
Yeah, and he wore the old school ref shirt, like the button up.
Yes, I love that.
They didn't make him run to the ring, I don't think, though, which is sad.
Disappointing. Show off his 40 time.
Dude, I still can't believe they made him run like 300 yards to the fucking ring.
That ramp was so long, like because they're at where they were at the Orange Bowl, weren't they?
I think so. It was somewhere where it was like a damn football field length to get to that.
He had a throwback to like the 1970s when he was playing high school ball.
He was like, damn, I had to train for 3 months just to get into this shape to run down here.
Love it.
But so we do have a new world champion here on this episode. Arquette and Canyon celebrate with DDP in the crowd, which was kind of a nice touch. And this made me not want to see David Arquette turn, because I knew he did at the end.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. But, Vince Russo's booking, so we got to get that swerve, bro.
The ultimate swerve, even if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for the storyline. It's got to be a swerve.
Yeah, and I just don't know how to explain any of this when they turned him. But on the April 26th Thunder.
Oh wait, by the way, I just wanted to add that on that Nitro, the world title match inside a steel cage wasn't the main event.
No, it was the first blood between Vampiro and Sting, correct?
Yes, it was.
Wow, that's gonna get its own fucking episode. Sting and Vampiro's fucking feud of Human Torches and First Bloods and whatever else was happening there.
So that's what took priority to the world title cage match.
I guess they didn't want to get blood on the mat for the world title cage.
Apparently, because I think that was the first blood match where they dropped the blood down from the ceiling.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but still, like, what they could also do is not do that and have that happen on Thunder instead of what we get here.
Yeah, so here on the April 26th Thunder, Bischoff and Double J, Jeff Jarrett, they're at the arena, and Arquette is in the trunk. They have kidnapped David Arquette from his hotel.
Bold move there, and they have like makeup painted on David Arquette to show like how bruised he is and everything, and there's a really shitty headlock by Jeff Jarrett on David Arquette as they drag him to the ring. Like, he just kind of marches him along. And apparently the headlock is so bad that, Jeff Jarrett could break his neck when he wants to.
Yeah, he has such a hold there. It should be his finish. The fucking side headlock that can just snap somebody's neck like a twig. Which is what he threatens. He says he's going to snap David Arquette's neck like a twig if DDP doesn't head on out there. And this episode of Thunder, according to Jeff Jarrett, is going to be the New Blood Revenge. They're going to have a tag team match for the World Heavyweight title between Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett, fighting off against DDP and David Arquette. First man to get a pin wins the World Championship.
Bold. Now, they could have done this match for the world title, but they could have done it where instead of Arquette or Bischoff getting the win, they could, like, if either one of them would get the pin, their guy would have the title. So, like, if Arquette pinned Bischoff, DDP would retain. If Bischoff pinned Arquette, then Jeff Jarrett would win the belt.
Yeah, that would have been probably a smarter way to go about this. But this whole segment, this open segment, is just weird because so when DDP and Canyon come out to accept or deny this match, which they eventually accept, they have Buff Bagwell and the franchise Shane Douglas on the ramp so that Canyon and DDP can't escape. Only for Lex Luger and Flair to come out behind them and attack them.
Yeah, Buff Bagwell and Shane Douglas looked like the least imposing men in the world, and they were supposed to be the backup. Like, the way they were dressed, they just looked like Flair and Luger were about to beat the shit out of them.
Why don't you send out the Wall, brother?
That's what I was saying. Like, bring the Wall out, because they bring him out after, like, later in the show, and I wrote, also, the Wall is here. It's the Wall, brother.
Here's the other thing, though. Mike Awesome is in this feud too, kind of.
Yeah.
So why isn't Mike Awesome and the Wall or Scott Steiner, somebody that looks like somebody will actually like kick your head off, out there instead of the fucking Shane Douglas who's about to be out there managing a Target in the next like 6 years from there, and fucking Buff Bagwell, whose mom is going to be on a forklift at the New Blood Rising pay-per-view.
I forgot that happened. Oh my God, we'll have to cover that. I know that's on our list, but
I'm going to cover it here because that's David Arquette's last appearance. I didn't
oh
watch the
my
match.
God,
He interferes in that match, which I had no fucking idea. But I'll touch on it really
incredible.
quick after.
Okay, that's incredible. I'm so happy that happened. So continuity, they were building to that match.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it definitely should have been Mike Awesome out there. But it ends up with Canyon and DDP taking the ring, but they were able to get Jeff Jarrett and Bischoff were able to take David Arquette with them. And
Yeah,
they left Kimberly behind in the ring defenseless against her soon-to-be ex-husband.
and that's when she slaps the shit out of DDP, who decides to front face lock his own wife, like he's gonna give her the diamond cutter.
And wow, the crowd is fucking happy about this.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, because Thunder is pre-taped, I'm wondering if they juiced up the crowd a little bit, like, you know, they enhanced the audio, or they just really wanted to see Kimberly get the diamond cutter.
I don't know. The diamond cutter was just so over too, though. So it's like, I mean, I guess they really did build Kimberly up as a despicable character for what she did to DDP.
Right.
But I don't think that diamond cuttering a woman on national TV would be the way to get your win back on her.
Right, and DDP also thinks the same because he lets her go, but then Kimberly decides to crawl on her hands and knees and to crawl over to DDP, who's about to leave the ring, and low blows him very dramatically.
Well, of course, DDP was a good person, let her go, knew that their differences would be resolved at some other time, and instead she tried to make sure DDP couldn't have kids ever again.
It's a tough scene for DDP. He's having a very hard time despite being the world champion.
Yes, he is. And what else is a rough time is the rest of this episode of Thunder until we get to the tag match.
Oh, good Lord.
Did you see these random, 30-second segments?
Yes, I did. I wrote Jarrett and Bischoff continue to antagonize Arquette, and then the next one is they continue to torture him, and then DDP eventually finds Arquette.
Yes, DDP eventually finds him. Then DDP takes him to a trainer, and Arquette insists he's okay. Then we have another segment where DDP is trying to talk sense into Arquette and that he'll just fight a handicap match, but Arquette's like, no, I'm okay. And then he says, but ow, my ribs. In there. These segments, this is 100% a Vince Russo thing where there's these quick cuts, I believe.
Yeah.
In these segments that I get in a TV show, you would see random things like that, like a scripted one.
Right.
But I don't think they're needed. They're not serving a purpose.
No, they could just do. They didn't really need to kidnap Arquette. They could have just let Arquette go after they had their match with him. Like, okay, well, we set up the match, DDP and them accepted it, so they just let him go in the ring. But instead, they continue to antagonize him, and essentially, Shivani calls it, they're going to continue to torture him, and we're going to have to watch it. They're not doing anything. They're like schoolyard bullies. They pretend that they're going to let Arquette go, and then they shove him back down, but they don't actually hurt him.
Yeah, and I guess this, in storyline, the only way this makes sense is this is where they were telling David Arquette their master plan.
True, but I don't know if you saw the other Nitro, the last Nitro after Slamboree, but they said that this was all part of the plan.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, this was the last Nitro that we cover is shocking when it comes to the lack of explanation as to why all of this has happened.
Yes, it is. But what we're going to do now is, DDP also tells Arquette to stay in the back right before the match because, he said, ow, my ribs hurt. And he does not listen. But they end up coming out here for this tag match here, main event of Thunder for the world title, DDP and Arquette versus Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett. And this is a shockingly short match here, I guess. Arquette makes his way to the ring. He doesn't even come out for the save, which would have been smarter since DDP told him to stay in the back.
Right.
But Kimberly is here anyways. She's not in fear of her husband at all. She's just here to fuck with his life. And she is now the ref.
Damn. Like, and I did like a few ref spots that she had here. Well, one ref spot that she had here. But this was another way to stack the deck against DDP.
Yeah, I guess in storyline it makes sense. The match doesn't really have any redeeming qualities here outside of the finish and the couple spots with Kimberly trying to quick count DDP.
Yeah.
There was some brawling on the outside in the ramp at the beginning. When DDP goes for covers, Kimberly won't count. She claims she has broken her nail at one point.
That's the spot that I liked. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. And the fact that one of the commentators said, well, she has 9 more.
Yeah.
Love good that. Stuff.
Yeah, we get Bischoff and Arquette brawl to the back, and then Bischoff ends up coming back like dusting off his hands, like, well, you're not going to have to worry about Arquette, which, like you said, why would they even have Arquette come out if that's what's going to happen? Why don't you just have him heroically make the save for Diamond Dallas Page afterwards?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and during all of this, they're trying to quick count DDP anytime they can. It ends up being a quick 2-on-1, like 50 seconds, because Arquette's got to make his way back out.
Right.
And DDP starts to have his fiery babyface comeback with the double clothesline. And Arquette comes back out. And for some reason, DDP turns and then kisses his wife.
And that was enough to incapacitate her from being able to count the pins. Like, he didn't hit her, he didn't do anything, but she was just in so much disgust that he had the nerve to kiss her that she was unable to continue with her job.
You know, I hate it when that happens to me, man. It just sometimes it just takes you completely out. She was just in such shock. But so as that's happening, Arquette hits a nasty spear again on Eric Bischoff, and DDP turns around and takes the guitar to the head. So we have a double pin here. Jeff Jarrett is pinning DDP, and David Arquette is pinning Eric Bischoff.
And keep in mind that the two legal men in this matchup for the entire match have been Jeff Jarrett and DDP.
Of course, we can't. Let's not remember that roles don't matter here. So the next ref slides in on the side that Jeff Jarrett is pinning DDP, but they sell it as the first thing this ref saw was David Arquette pinning Eric Bischoff and counts the 1, 2, 3, making David Arquette the WCW World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh God, that just hurts to hear.
It's definitely not good.
Yeah.
But at least they didn't have him like pin Jeff Jarrett, I guess.
True. They, like I said, if they would have did that for DDP to retain the title, that makes sense. But I'll agree with Tony Schiavone where he yells, David Arquette just won the world title. And he sounds full of rage and disappointment, like, throughout his call of this.
So, have you heard that it was Tony Schiavone's idea?
Yes.
That's shocking to me.
Well, it was his idea, but he said it like, oh, they're trying to, like, in a creative meeting, they're like, okay, well, what can we do with Arquette to help push the movie? And he's like, well, why don't we just put the world title on him? Like, as a joke, and everybody laughed, and then Russo's like, that's a great idea.
And Tony was like, I need to go back in time real quick and kill my former self. But he couldn't do it. He let the cat out of the bag, and Vince Russo fucking went wide-eyed and knew what was going on. But, oh, God. So, I just don't... The replay, they show it. The only way that they can sell that this ref counted Arquette's first, because they shouldn't have been like, that's the first thing he saw, because he got in the ring on DDP and Jeff Jarrett's side.
Yeah.
I will say, though, Arquette did pin Bischoff first.
True. and I think that's probably what they try to get away with. But if they wanted to do this again, like this terrible, terrible thing that they did to the wrestling business, they could have at least made it a tornado tag match where then it would have made sense. But Arquette was never the legal man. Bischoff was never the legal man. Like, I hate to be like the stickler for the rules, but Jesus Christ, this was bad.
Yeah, not ideal. Definitely not ideal. But you do get a lot of, I don't know how many of this, like you saw the trash getting thrown in.
Yeah.
You see the people turning their backs.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like you could tell there is where they kind of turned up the crowd noise, because they really, if you look at the crowd, nobody's excited or cheering. It's just like, oh Jesus Christ, and you could hear like this low drone under the cheers, like that was the booing that was occurring at the arena that night.
Yeah, it's a rough, very rough time there in WCW. But so we moved to the May 1st Nitro following this, and now this is the highlight of David Arquette's time in WCW right here.
Yeah,
because you get the real star Courteney Cox showing up.
Yes, and we get them backstage on the set of 3,000 Miles to Graceland, which is a movie she's in with Kurt Russell, who we also see later that episode. Courteney Cox is all concerned because she says that you're not a wrestler, David, and he's hype as fuck to be the world champion. Like, he's wearing the belt. He's all happy. We get another segment a little bit later where Courteney thinks that it's dangerous and he's like, don't worry, Ddp and Canyon got my back. And she's like, do they really have your back, or are they really going to help you? Like, when it comes down to it, you're not a wrestler. So we get Kurt Russell showing up, the legendary Wyatt Earp from Tombstone, and the head coach Herb Brooks on Miracle. So we get Kurt Russell to show up. He's concerned about the next love scene that he's supposed to shoot with Courteney Cox. And she said, did you hear that David is the new WCW world champion? And David is like, yep, that's me. And Kurt Russell looks at him and with perfect timing just laughs and says, yeah, right, and walks off.
Yeah, that's how you treat the world champion right there, fucking Kurt Russell. But Kurt Russell, you forgot to mention that he's Mr. Nobody in Fast and Furious.
Oh, I tried to leave that one out.
He's the one that allows the series to turn into a spy thriller, pretty much, with The Rock turning the torpedo in the middle of Antarctica. Or Alaska, wherever they were.
Jesus.
It happened. It definitely happened. But I can't believe Courteney Cox was here. I never knew that she actually appeared on camera.
Yeah, this is why they did it. Like, they wanted to have her, I'm sure. And they're like, if we give him the world title, we can get her on. And then, oh shit, we could get Kurt Russell on. Like, he's a huge star too. Like, this is the highlight of his run, which it does not make the WCW World Championship look good whatsoever, but they could have still used Arquette in a situation where they could have brought these people on and still made WCW look better.
Dude, they should have had Courteney Cox come on and fucking catfight with Kimberly.
Oh, God.
If you're going to go all the way with it, you got to go all the way with it.
If they were able to actually get her to come on and do that, that would be a huge coup. That would be like a Dennis Rodman type get there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that Courteney Cox showed up. I actually wasn't expecting it. So I was like, holy shit, WCW on their dying days was able to get a actual, like mainstream star. But just by the ways to get it, they had to go through their, B-list husband to get to the A-lister.
Yeah, it was a bold move by WCW, as another bold move was Arquette picking up a steel chair and chasing after Kurt Russell, and Courteney yelling, David, you're not a wrestler, again. So a really funny segment. Like, I really enjoyed it. But David Arquette's the world champion, so I'm dead inside.
The other good thing about this was that they're in Huntsville, Alabama, I believe. And Courtney's like, well, it's my hometown. We can at least see my parents. Like, he has to be there. So she's like, oh, well, we could stop home.
And he's like, no, I'm too busy fighting Jeff Jarrett.
So this show is where David Arquette shows off some of his looks here. He comes out with this wild ass suit that I don't even know how to describe it.
I can't even describe this suit.
It's like something out of the Fresh Prince's closet, but like turned up even more. Like Will Smith can pull it off, but David Arquette should just stick to a normal suit.
I'm so glad that he decided against it. It didn't fit the character at all because he looked like a total heel doing it. But I love his fashion choices.
Well, that's because he was a heel. We just didn't know he was undercover.
Yeah. Oh my God. My brain is short circuiting because like I can't handle this. I can't handle this.
You gotta love it. It's something. So Arquette, DDP, and Canyon come to the ring. Arquette decides that he should not be the champion, and that's a bold choice also. So he starts to talk about how this was a dream. You know, he was a wrestling fan, but he's going to give up the title tonight, which is something.
Yeah, he says he doesn't deserve it, which, I mean, and this is where I'll drop in here. Like, I give all the credit in the world to David Arquette for knowing that the fans weren't going to take this title reign seriously. They were going to hate it. But he took the money that he was given by WCW for these appearances and donated them to the families of Owen Hart. And I know he donated Brian Pillman's family too, I believe, and Darren Drozdov for, who was paralyzed in the ring. So very nice of him to do. Because he didn't have to do that, and he's really a credit. Like, it shows how good of a guy he really is.
Yeah, I don't know much about like the rest of his personal life. Like, I think he's a stand-up guy, but that right there is just a great thing to do. Like, actually being a fan, actually caring about the people that you are working there with for this short time, and even like, he's donating to WWE guys too. So it's like he just wants to see everybody in wrestling be okay. Right. So that's awesome that David Arquette did that. And what else is great is in this segment, like, he comes out and he says, I don't deserve this title. Guys like Booker T deserve this. And Booker T hadn't been champion at this point, right?
No, he had not held the title yet.
So that's cool because, he was probably just like a fan and he saw that Booker T, was a hard worker and everything. So he just shouted him out in the middle of a promo and he didn't have to.
Right. Right, it's really excellent, and of course, he said guys like Booker T, guys like DDP, like, it really helps them show, like, hey, I'm a wrestling fan, like, these are the guys that are going to carry it, the belt into the future.
Yeah, and that's why I don't really like, this is bad. The booking is bad, but, like, I like David Arquette, so I don't want to completely shit on it. He tried his best. He was put in a no-win situation.
Right. And that's why, like, I'll shit on the booking all day because of what, just what a mess this was. But Arquette tried very hard to play his role. And you got to give him all the credit. Like, it's not his fault that he's in this position. And also, like, if if one of us was in his position, would you really turn it down? The fact that you get to hold the WCW World Title, if you're being pressured, even if the fans are going to hate it and everything, like, but that you have to do it anyway, you might as well have some fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, he was it's noted all over the place when you hear interviews about this time. He was very adamant about not having the title and how bad of an idea it was, but at the end of the day, he was being paid to do it, so you got to just do it.
Right.
So I mean, good for David Arquette for being a good person and being a true wrestling fan and looking out for everybody's best interest. But Bischoff and DDP, or Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett, are not looking out for everyone's best interests here on the show because they say, you can't make these decisions. You can't give up the title. And that's when they decide that they are going to have the triple-decker Ready to Rumble cage, and it's going to be a three-way dance.
Which Bischoff calls a triple dance.
It's a triple dance. I didn't even catch that. That's fucking awesome.
Yep. Amazing. So, and we also get ringside. They bring, because isn't Russo's with them? Or no, Russo isn't with them yet, but they bring Miss Elizabeth along with them on a leash with security guards.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yes.
Why was she on a fucking leash?
Because she was WCW's property, which meant she was Vince Russo's property. So he had like taken her away from Lex Luger and made her like his valet.
God. Oh, God.
So that happened. Luger makes the run in to try to save Liz, but Russo like runs away with her, and they're like, "Okay, well now that that's over, we're gonna make tonight for the world title, David Arquette 1-on-1 with Tank Abbott."
What a fucking idea here. And that's not only the catch. Tank Abbott comes out, and Abbott attacks DDP, leading to a three-way brawl here with Canyon coming out and Mike Awesome and Jeff Jarrett and all these great things happening. And so now Abbott is working double duty tonight. He's going to fight DDP also. And if DDP wins, he will not have his world title shot against David Arquette.
Yeah, and the quote here is amazing from Tank Abbott. "If you win, your little Hollywood punk boy gets off easy. I win, he's gonna die because I'm gonna tear his head off."
Tank Abbott, like, I don't know why. Like, he's definitely a fucking like shoot fighter, and he could mess some people up.
Right.
But like, he does not look like somebody I would fear my life for. Like, I don't know why.
Right. It's just his look. Like he doesn't look like he's gonna hurt you, but you know for a fact he's one of those guys where he doesn't have to look like it. It's kind of like Chuck Liddell. Other than the mohawk and the head tattoo, like if he just had normal grown hair, he doesn't look like somebody that's gonna hurt you, but he's still going to anyway.
Yeah, Tank Abbott is one of those dudes that somebody picks a fight with in the bar and they're immediately catfished into a one-punch knockout.
You're right.
But DDP, speaking of knockouts, DDP is fucking knocked out in the match by fucking Tank Abbott for half a second.
Love it. Tank Abbott, dangerous.
DDP is fighting Tank Abbott here. DDP gets knocked out. It's only like a 3-minute match. Arquette and Canyon, we are shown during the match, are locked in their dressing room.
Of course.
Jeff Jarrett then attacks DDP, leading to Abbott pinning. Or wait, did he pin him? No, he knocked him out outside the ring after Jeff Jarrett interfered with the mask on. So now ref stoppage, I guess, led to Tank Abbott and David Arquette for the world title.
Good Lord. We get to that match finally. DDP is supposed to be in the hospital after this attack, and we get a sign that says Arquette 2-0. Who's next?
I love it.
David Arquette, man. Chris Canyon's on his way to the ring with Arquette and immediately gets ejected. So it's 1-on-1 Arquette and Tank Abbott, which is terrifying for David Arquette, who, keep in mind, is like 5'10", 160 pounds, like if he's soaking wet and holding a brick. So we get Arquette fashion watch. He's wearing a long-sleeved green T-shirt with yellow pants with flames on them and white cowboy boots.
I love everything about his fashion.
You know that he was just like thinking, what ridiculous shit can I wear to WCW tonight?
He was serving all the fucking looks. So Canyon is sent to the back, which prompts Arquette to do what any smaller man does in a fight and jump on Tank Abbott's back and hope to God that he falls asleep in a sleeper hold.
And unfortunately for him, that did not work out the way he had hoped. We get our Tank Abbott he throttles him. He picks Arquette up with a double leg and just slams him down like it was fucking nothing. Like and Arquette took the bump. It looked sick. It looked like he really got messed up there. And Arquette goes for his spear, which is his finish, and it gets completely no-sold by Abbott. He just bounces off him. And that's when we get DDP making the run-in.
Yes, DDP has somehow taken over an ambulance and has drove himself back to the building. He runs out through the crowd and hits Tank Abbott with a diamond cutter that he didn't see coming and throws Arquette's lifeless body on top of Tank Abbott's corpse and the ref rolls back in and counts the pin. So we have a 3-0 David Arquette now.
Did you ever think you would see a world heavyweight title match between David Arquette and Tank Abbott?
I didn't think Tank Abbott should be in a world title match, let alone fucking one with David Arquette.
Oh gosh, they're building Tank Abbott for Goldberg, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of Goldberg chants. They do want to see it.
Yeah, instead of capitalizing on it by having him knock out the billions of jobbers that WCW has, they have him lose to a 160-pound actor.
Yes, to Dewey from Screams. Dewey from Scream out here 3-0. That brings us to Slamboree, May 7th, 2000. David Arquette is arriving to the show, and we have him in a limo, kind of, I think it was a limo. And so Mean Gene starts talking to him, and he said something about Courteney Cox, and Arquette says that he doesn't need his wife's money. He's a millionaire by himself.
It's a bold statement. He got to open up the books for an accountant. I need proof.
I mean, I guess at this time he probably was. I mean, Scream. I think there maybe had been 2 Screams at this point, so he's probably rolling in the dough a little bit. And then Mean Gene asked him about his match, and he's like, "Mean Gene, I'm scared," which was good. I'm glad that he did that.
Yeah.
But,
and he just leaves. He just leaves too after that. He's like, "Mean Gene, I'm really, really scared." And then he walks off.
And then later in the show, you get Ddp and Arquette together for an interview where Arquette says, "I look good, but I'm scared." And he has on some fucking wild red pants with some like lightning half shirt. I don't even know.
He has a
coat.
Yeah, he's got a red cape.
Oh God, this is he decided to try to look as wild as he could. But DDP lays out the plan here in this interview. He says, "Stay away from Jarrett. I'll take care of it. Anyone else comes out, you can take them down." But then DDP says, "But remember, when we get to the top, don't grab that belt. You don't want that, buddy."
Like, I love that he says that in the first run into this match is Mike fucking awesome. Like, Arquette's about to square up to him.
He's like, "Listen, Mike Awesome was a 70s guy. We're fine." Oh, God, what a fucking cluster. So we get to the 3-decker steel cage here.
Triple dance.
The triple dance with Jeff Jarrett, Arquette, and DDP. The title belt. So what we have here is like a Hell in a Cell mini cage that's not as high.
Right.
At first, with a trap door in the ceiling to a smaller cage. On the second level that has a bunch of random weapons and the kitchen sink. The kitchen fucking sink was in there.
Yep. It's the hardcore hell level.
Yes, the level hardcore hell, which we didn't hear until they almost got to it. And then the third level is like a guitar showroom of Jeff Jarrett's guitars, pretty much, in a very small, like maybe like 2 or 3 shark cages put together.
Yeah, very tiny. And at the top of that is the world title being suspended from the ceiling.
So, unless you saw the movie, you didn't know what the fuck was going on here.
Right, because they never explain the rules.
No, Michael Buffer attempts to explain something, but I can't. I'd feel bad for him because he probably looked at it like, I can't do this fucking justice. Nobody really knows what's going on. We don't know what. Like, you can't pin anybody because you have to go all the way to the top and grab the title belt like it's a ladder match. You have to use the ladders that are in the first floor to get to the trap door above the ring to the second floor.
It's so confusing. Like, I love the idea of this match, and they bring it back when they do the War Games match with Russo's Revenge, and it makes a little bit more sense. And I like the idea of the triple cage, I really do. But they need to make it where the fact, like, okay, you need to keep climbing the cage and the belt's at the top.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like, I thought it was just like you got to the third and the belt was in there.
Right, that's what I thought too.
But I guess there's just guitars in there instead. I don't know. But I do like the triple cage kind of thing. WWE should bring it back. They've already brought back War Games, so let the NXT guys have fun with this. They'd probably make it great.
They'd probably jump off the top of the fucking 42-foot cage.
The Panama Sunrise off the third cage to the floor. I mean, I don't know. Undisputed Era versus Team NXT. There could be a lot of possibilities here for a triple dance cage.
Triple dance. Love it. So we get to the match. Jarrett comes out first, and I'm very upset that they overdub Cowboy by Kid Rock that he comes out to. Like, it's a rip-off.
He came out to that?
Yeah, it's a rip-off of it. But they take... It's like... all the WCW rip-offs are now overdubbed by other music, and it's very disappointing. Like DDP's, he does Pretty Much Smells Like Teen Spirit is his song, but they completely overdub it. They overdub Sting comes out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica, and they overdub it with his older WCW music. Like, they just keep changing these musics. Like, and I get that you don't want to... get in trouble for copyright infringement, but it's not the same song, so you might as well let it play.
Yeah, it's that really sucks because the WCW music is very generic, but like it worked. It still had you still know who is coming out when you hear that Smells Like Teen Spirit ripoff. And Chris Jericho's talked about it in his book where he had like Basketball Highlights 18 or something.
Yeah.
And it was like some Pearl Jam or Van Halen ripoff, the first one, and the next one was Pearl Jam.
Yeah, it was a great move by Chris Jericho to have. I think he had I want to say he was Even Flow. Yeah, I think he was Even Flow. Like by Pearl Jam was the second ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
But we get to this cage where Arquette comes out second, even though he's a world champion, in his red cape and jumpsuit with flames on it. And Scott Hudson, one of the announcers, asks, did James Brown have a yard sale?
Oh, my God.
Beautiful.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, there's so much. There's this whole monstrosity of a cage. There's just weapons throughout this fucking thing. Nobody knows what's going on. It's just ridiculous, and you definitely want to pause this, turn on your WWE Network, and watch this as we go through it, because I mean we're not going to go move by move here, but it's something you have to see, even if it's not great. You got to see it.
Yeah, it was a spectacle for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of possibilities there, but in the match, DDP and Jeff Jarrett kind of duke it out here at first. Arquette is sticking to the plan. He is staying away from the action until he inadvertently gets hit a couple times, because DDP once ducked a punch, and I think they slingshotted Jarrett, and he landed on Arquette randomly.
Yeah, Arquette got laid out a few times. He took some nice bumps. The cage wall looks really, really flimsy. Like the first cage. Well, really all of them look flimsy and scary. So, as he bounces off of it, and it looks like the thing's going to give way.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't clamp the bottoms. Like they had the top secured, and then they just let it go like a door.
Yeah, it's just fencing. Yeah, you're right.
It's weird, but I mean, it's okay what's going on here. It's definitely not the worst thing we've ever seen. DDP does randomly hit a spinning rock bottom.
Yeah,
on Jeff Jarrett, which was amazing. That's a finish right there, but you can't pin anybody in this match.
No, you have to climb the steel cage, and that's why it would be a lot more fun if there were more people in this match, where you can have guys race to the finish, and it's just a spot fest.
Yeah, I think if you had the teams, it would be better. So I guess they went back to it later to do that. But the spinning rock bottom leads David Arquette. DDP signals for him to get on the top rope and hit that Superfly splash, but he misses.
Yes, I was so happy about that. He took that splash he looked like an actual pro wrestler doing it.
Yeah, it was a beautiful splash miss, by Arquette. He did his job. But so after that, Jeff Jarrett has started to bleed here.
Somehow.
We don't really know where. There's also a random hard platform inside the first cage, and while they are going for the trap door, DDP kicks the ladder and Jeff Jarrett lands on the hard platform.
Yeah, it looked nasty.
Which doesn't sound fun. I don't know why. I guess it was there for them to use the cameras on, I guess. But
Well, I think they used it because it was part of the platform to enter the ring, and they set it up for the Canyon Awesome spot later in the match. So I think they kind of had to have it there.
Okay, yeah. So the ring platform has extended all the way.
Right.
DDP does end up making it here to the second level first. Jeff Jarrett gives chase. So they both end up in hardcore hell, which almost ended with the 1998 Hell in a Cell finish.
Holy shit.
Well, not the finish, the fucking opening move.
God, they started to brawl. They used weapons on each other. When I'm just following it. There was the floor looked really wobbly, like really scary, where it looked like they could have fallen through. And there was a sick chair shot by Jarrett, unprotected at DDP's head, and they use weapons. And there's finally DDP starts to bleed after the chair shot, and one of the guys throws the other into the cage wall, and they both go through it, and the cage wall gives, and they both fall. And there's it looks like less than 10 feet, maybe about 8 feet worth of cage that they have to work on. Like, they could have very easily fallen over the edge and died.
Yeah, I was like, at first I was like, oh, well, that's a creative spot. And then I realized DDP looked down like he just fucking shit himself. So, not good. Definitely not good. Should secure the fucking cage if you're going to have two of them on top of each other.
Yeah, and if that's a planned spot, you got to be thinking smarter than that, because there's not enough room on the outside of that thing. Like, this is a spot where after they make it out of the second cage, I start to get scared. Like, I know that they're fine because obviously no incidents happened here, but it's scary to watch because they do not have a lot of room that they're fighting on, and if they fall, they're falling into the crowd.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good situation to be in as a wrestler, but it happened, and everybody, thank God, was okay.
Right.
Arquette at this point is still at the bottom floor, just hanging out, eating chips, whatever he's doing. After this, let's see here. Let me flip this page. The door is like instantly open to the third level when DDP got up there. Doesn't matter because the fucking whole side blew out. But they start going for the third level like right after this, and what I had to note here is that the camera work actually, like, because the Pujami prison was something like a monstrosity like this.
Yeah,
and they could not fucking see anything in there, but the camera work in here was shockingly good.
It was. All the shit that I give WCW for their sound editing, their camera work was at top notch.
Yeah, I don't know how they got all the good shots here. Like, they had like sky cams up there.
Yeah.
Like on wires or something, or they had the guys in the rafters, because this was actually very easy to watch, which you don't usually get with gimmick cages.
Right, especially 42 feet in the air as they bill it, which is really probably a legitimate 30 feet.
Yeah. And what happens here is they're both still bleeding. Arquette starts to make his way up as they go for this third level where the title is above, which has all the guitars in it. Jeff Jarrett had also put DDP through a table at one point here on the second floor, and all I could keep noting was that this was just not safe at all.
No, not at all. Jesus Christ. So scary. Like, this entire match. Like, if I'm David Arquette, I'm like, okay, we want you to climb up to the top of this third cage. I'd be like, no, not happening.
Yeah, exactly. But then, so as David Arquette starts coming to the second level, Mike Awesome spawns on the second level of the cage. Like, I never saw him come out or climb. He just fucking was there.
Yeah, he had to have not climbed the side, but he had to have gone through the trap door, and we just didn't see it.
Yeah, very random. I don't know. So random.
It was. I loved it.
Yeah, it was good though. Mike Awesome shows up. He's got set up for a spot with Canyon later. This leads to a diamond cutter on the outside of the second cage before they start to make their way to the third level. After Awesome is out there, Arquette also just bypasses everybody and goes right to the top. And instead of grabbing the title, which people started looking like he was going to do, he is guarding the title so that DDP could get up there, is what we were led to believe.
Which is a great strategy. I would have loved at this point. He's already the world champion. I hate it like that he's the champ, but he's got an undefeated streak to worry about. It would have been amazing for him to just, after all of this, like all this huge brawl between the two of them, he just escapes to the top of the cage and pulls the belt down.
That would have been just remarkable.
It would have
or
been
if
so
Mike
funny.
Awesome would have just went up and got it, even though he's not in the match.
Oh, that's how you push a top heel.
So David Arquette is up there guarding this title, right? Jeff Jarrett and DDP make it to the third cage with all like 7 guitars in there. Jarrett gets in and misses 2 guitar shots on DDP. And then DDP gives a guitar to Arquette to help fend off Jeff Jarrett in case he makes his way up there. And as this is happening, we have 2 opposite sides. DDP climbing on one, Jeff Jarrett climbing on another to set up the worst idea of this whole storyline.
Yeah, even worse than giving Arquette the world title was Arquette rearing back like he was going to hit Double J with the guitar, and then the announcers fuck it up by saying, "Who's he going to hit?" Don't even just say, "Oh, he's going to hit Jarrett." It's, "Who's he going to hit?" I think it's going to be Jarrett. No, just be like, he's going to lay out Jeff Jarrett with the guitar. Instead, he turns around and smashes DDP in the head with the guitar.
Twice. He hit him twice, too, like once with the broken part, too.
Yeah, so dropping him off the cage to the other cage below. And that gives Jarrett the opportunity to climb to the top of the cage, hug Arquette, and then win the belt.
Yes, fucking swerve, bro.
The ultimate swerve, according to Tony Schiavone. For fuck's sake.
What a bad idea. So, but this match is over, but the night is not. Now this is where a lot of people get uncomfortable with this event.
Yeah.
Which we have not told you where this event took place. I'm not sure the exact arena because I just don't know. But it is
Kemper Arena.
The Kemper Arena, where Owen Hart fell to his death a year before this in the terrible accident that happened with his rappelling device. And so here they have Canyon come out, who had a match with Mike Awesome for some reason, and he starts fighting with him on the second level of the cage. And in the same arena where a wrestler has actually died from falling from a high altitude, they throw Canyon off the goddamn cage onto the fucking gimmick stage. I mean, he's fine. There's a bunch of padding, but why? Why are we doing that?
Yeah, like, I get that it's a coincidence and they didn't think of that, but you got to think better of it, especially because they don't sell it like, "Oh my God, this is the craziest thing we've ever seen." Not only is this happening after the match where you have the ultimate swerve, but you're having it happen 10 seconds before they cut away from the pay-per-view. So it happens like, "Oh my God, look what happened." And Jeff Jarrett's the world champion, and we're out of time.
And just not good.
No. The crowd lose their shit, though.
I mean, it's a crazy spot, and I think done anywhere else. Like, I'm still okay with it because I was, but there's a lot of people that were in that arena that night that were probably at Over the Edge who are like, "Oh my God, I watched Owen Hart die here, and now we're throwing a man off the top of a fucking cage."
Yeah, it's tone deaf.
It's just not smart. Everybody alleges that they didn't have any idea about that or didn't think it could be controversial with it, which is fine. I don't think anybody did it just to make like a fucking cruel joke. And Bischoff has defended. He's like, I think he had an episode where he said like, just because Dale Earnhardt died, they didn't stop racing.
Right.
Which I understand, but it's also just like very close to when that event happened. Like maybe not even a year.
Yeah, it's almost like a year to the day because it was in May 1999. Like, I think it was like almost a year. So that's scary to think about. And I know that no malice was intended with that, but it's still, like you said, not a great decision to make. But especially just with where they did it and how they did it, like it was almost an afterthought.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna do it, like if DDP was taking that to lose the match, I guess it makes more sense. But they had to have Canyon randomly come out and take it, which it's a memorable spot. It's not a bad spot, just not well thought out with the situation.
Right.
But
Right.
so David Arquette is a heel now, and he has one more appearance the night after this on Nitro before he shows up later in like August randomly. But he comes out on the May 8th Nitro with the New Blood. Before this, though, did you see the opening segment of this fucking Nitro?
Yeah, it was with Canyon and Traction.
Well, it was with Canyon in the full body cast.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking, he's in a full body cast, so they're selling that he's almost dead. DDP is there, you know, hoping that his friend's going to be okay, and the whole fucking New Blood just shows up in this damn hospital to jump fucking DDP for no reason.
God, and they not only beat the hell out of him, but then Kimberly pours the contents of a bedpan all over DDP.
Oh God! And she's like, "Visiting hours are over." Ha 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 ha. So funny.
God, why? There was no need for that.
No, there was no reason. They had to say it was earlier in the day because DDP is gonna fucking come out here, and the New Blood's in the ring, and Arquette gets to address DDP here as Eric Bischoff walks us through how this was all an act because David Arquette's a fucking actor.
Yes, and Fashion Watch, David Arquette is serving his fiercest look yet. He has a green and blue fur coat on over a green suit, and he's wearing bling, including just one chain that has a dollar sign on it.
I love all of that. Not they we can't even do it justice with the explaining of this. There's just some convoluted explanation that this was all a work from the fucking beginning.
And you got like Bischoff saying he's taking one for the team by taking a guitar shot, and apparently part of the plan was Jarrett losing the world title to DDP, which makes no fucking sense at all. The fact that Ket wouldn't just lose to Bischoff, but he said Bischoff said he did it all just to screw DDP. That's like Mr. McMahon telling Stone Cold Steve Austin that he was the higher power because he did it to teach him a lesson, to make a fool of him.
Yes, he abducted his own daughter and everything just for that. Very bad decisions. Both of those things had Vince Russo working on them.
Yeah. This is an episode where we're going to give Vince Russo some shit because just the decision, I don't know. I don't find the decision defensible at all to give Arquette the world title. And this is where I want to get into it a little bit with not only is he an actor, he's a B-list actor.
Yeah, it's not like fucking Sylvester Stallone came out.
And that's what I was going to say. If you had Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger in this, it still wouldn't be great because you're still telling all the wrestlers what you did doesn't count. The celebrity gets the belt. Fuck, even if you did Dennis Rodman, all of that would still be more credible than David Arquette holding the world title. And I know that, it's not that he looked better than the wrestlers, but there was no reason for this.
Yeah, it's not like the only people you can I think get behind that isn't a wrestler would be somebody like fucking I don't even know, like LeBron or somebody where you're just like this man is such a fucking athlete that he would take to it like fish out of water, I guess. Like I wouldn't even be okay with that, but at least nobody's going to be like, well, LeBron wouldn't whip anyone's ass.
Right, exactly. like even Mr. T back in the day, like if you would have given him the WWF World Title, it still would have been shitty for all the other wrestlers, but at least they look credible. Arquette he's not credible at all, and when we get into it later, that's one of the things I admire Arquette about is his his ability to prove everybody wrong, that he wasn't just in it for the money or to do it like that. He wanted to redeem himself for what happened here, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But so shout out to Arquette for his continued wrestling career after this. But still, this was a disaster. And just the way they did it was a disaster too.
Yeah. And so pretty much with Ddp or with Arquette and his great attire, this segment ends with and the feud ends with DDP making his way to the ring, fighting off the new blood with a little bit of help, and hitting a vicious diamond cutter on David Arquette.
Amazing. Like, he took it well, but before that, I will give credit to Arquette again. His heel performance was excellent. His parts of the promo where he's just like, shut up. And
yeah.
It was so annoying and beautiful and so funny. But he essentially says, he reminded me of Kevin Federline with his performance.
Yeah, no, really. He probably would have been good as like a heel like manager for this role. I mean, we do find out later he can wrestle. I mean, later in life, but yeah, he did his good heel stuff here before taking the diamond cutter right onto the bridge of his nose.
It was beautiful. So at least like this segment wasn't that bad, but for a while, like, but they had like Jarrett talked, Arquette talked, Bischoff talked, and Kimberly. Like, all four of them were cutting a promo before DDP, and then Mike Awesome talked.
Yes, good for him.
Shout out to Mike Awesome.
So yeah, that all happens. That is David Arquette's interaction here in his big moments, but he does show up again at New Blood Rising, August 13th, 2000, during the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match between Kanyon, who I guess is a heel now, and Buff Bagwell.
Wow.
Yeah, for some reason Arquette interferes. Like, nobody was in dire straits. Like, he just kind of walked out, and Mark Madden's like, "Oh, one of the greatest of all time, the former champion." You know, like he's like hyping this guy up. Judy Bagwell is randomly looking around on this forklift, and this is a story for a different day. But Arquette comes in and gets like double clotheslined with Kanyon by Bagwell, and then they hit a double blockbuster. Like, Bagwell hits the flipping blockbuster off the ropes to Kanyon and Arquette, but Arquette doesn't get his head hooked, so like Bagwell just lands with his arm over top of Arquette.
Oh God.
It's very random. But so that happens, and Kanyon loses, only for Kanyon to get up after and give Arquette the Kanyon cutter.
Love that.
For screwing him back in the day.
Oh my, that's so confusing.
I don't know why it happened, but David Arquette was there.
It's too bad we didn't get a David Arquette Dennis Rodman match.
Yeah, really. Oh God. But so David Arquette has come back to wrestling. 2018, he did show up and do some matches in championship wrestling for Hollywood. I believe he fought RJ City for a while.
Who is great with his Everyday's WrestleMania promo.
Yes, and then David Arquette also showed up for a death match with Nick Gage. That was on Joey Janela's show, or was that GCW?
It was Joey Janela was booking for GCW. It was LA Confidential.
Oh God! And this poor man, David Arquette, who's like 47 at this point, in pretty good shape. I saw a picture of that match. You know, he looked like he's in good shape. He looked like he could pass as a wrestler, and had somehow his like throat cut and almost fucking died.
Yeah, they went for a Russian leg sweep, I think, with the light tube, which is just a bad idea. But either that or like Gage was starting to choke him with a light tube, and Arquette panicked and he moved and the thing broke and cut him. And luckily Luke Perry, God bless his soul, saved his life by by helping him like stop the bleeding and then drove him to the hospital in order to help him out and save his life, really.
Wow. I just, David Arquette does not deserve that. Didn't deserve that to happen to him.
No, and it's just a freak accident, man. Like, shit happens. Like, light tubes are scary things to deal with in wrestling. And this actually wasn't the first stunt that Arquette did in a hardcore setting. He was actually on the December 13th, 2010 episode of Raw. He was, I think, the guest host, but he was a heel and he was a big fan of The Miz. So he teamed with your boy Alex Riley in a
Yes, he
handicap
did.
match against Randy Orton, and Orton won, and then after the match he powerbombed Arquette through a table.
Wow. I'm just happy that he was that happened, that he got to be there.
Yes, shout out to David Arquette.
So the match where he almost died, when was that? Was that 2018?
Yeah, November 16th, 2018.
Since then he wrestled January 1st, 2020. David Arquette and RJ City defeated Joey Ryan and Colt Cabana prior to the COVID pandemic. That was the last time he wrestled, but he was wrestling like once or twice every couple months there for a while since 2018. So good for David Arquette for loving it enough to come back and right his wrongs.
Right, and something he didn't need to do. He didn't have to come back and do any of this. He could have just continued, but he didn't want to continue to be a punchline. He wanted people to have respect for him in pro wrestling, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's been in the ring with some pretty crazy, Colt Cabana, Joey Ryan, RJ City. I don't know if he's a big name, but we love RJ City.
True.
He has also wrestled Ethan Page, Mr. Anderson randomly.
Oh, wow.
Timothy Thatcher.
Wow. Oh, I'd love to see that match.
At Joey Ryan's penis party. That's where that happened, which I don't like that. But
I'm not going to watch that. We're not fans of Joey Ryan on the podcast, but we won't get into that.
But so he's fought some decent name people since coming back, and from what we've heard, it has been decent. So good for him.
Yes, shout out to David Arquette. He tried his best. We'll give him all the credit. I will not blame him for everything that happened here. I'll blame Bischoff and Russo more than anything, but for allowing it to happen. But he did his best.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm happy they did it. I've always liked David Arquette, so good for him. I have respect for him for going in wrestling and being smart enough to be like, I shouldn't win the title,
right,
and everything, but donating the money to the wrestlers in need and coming back and just doing it because he loves it. So it's a very respectable way to go about it.
It is, and I'm like you said, I'm very happy that he has had this late career redemption for his part. Like he really, and I think he could be used like as an effective heel manager somewhere, like in AEW or something. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens once they allow people to wrestle again. Like all indies have pretty much been shut down, so
right.
We'll see what happens with David Arquette when he is able to get back in the ring here, because I think he plans on continuing.
Good. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, so that was fun. Definitely a not great situation WCW had there, but it was worth covering just for the fact that there was a triple-decker cage and David Arquette's looks, for sure.
Yes, shout out to Arquette. Like I said a few times, good for him. And this was an entertaining thing to cover. Even if I disagreed and it gave me headaches at times, like this was fun to cover for the podcast.
Definitely. All right. Well, we will be back next week with another great worst of wrestling match. Those have been very fun to cover. So we will see you next Wednesday here, and we will have some Raw coming up next on
Exciting.
The storylines. So we will see you next week. Make sure to follow the socials, and please leave a review if you can.
Yes, you could give us a 5-star review. You could give us a 3-star review. Like just review us, man. Continue to follow us on Twitter or Instagram as well. We got some content on there, and we've announced some of the newer episodes that we're doing for you to get a better sense of it.
Yeah, sounds good. Please leave that 5-star. 3 stars is nice, but the 5, we will always respect you for that. So. All right. We'll be back next week with another episode. We'll see you then.